Hey guys, all right, I'm going to go over the sentiment indicator here and how best to use it. I'm going to go through a couple of different stocks and I'm going to, tell you guys, how it all functions, what it does and how it works. So, look, first up, it's got a lot of different inputs. So it's blending, institutional money flow, market participation, uh, global risk appetite, momentum into one, real time score. Um, you know, Market breadth based on percentage of stocks above key moving averages. Risk on, risk off from equities, bonds, commodities, emerging markets, the VIX, up and down volume panic ratio, 12 different major assets and over 20 institutional grade metrics. So this is actually the most complicated indicator that we have. It's got look back periods, everything. Works on any stock. Here we're looking at it on gold. I'll go through a couple of stocks. I haven't really picked any out. We'll just go through a couple. So on the left here, I've got it turned on. On the right, it's not turned on. So obviously, you can see here on gold, looking on the right side, right at the moment, it moved up drastically, pulled back drastically, and then if you were just looking at the candle colors, you're obviously like, well, look, it's heading back up. It's great, and the sentiment underneath actually tells you what's really happening. So that sentiment, if we look on the left hand side, was bad the entire time. So there was a lot of selling happening on those green candles with people and big money, not retail, big money, getting out of their positions. And obviously it's obvious now, but it was actually obvious with the indicator the entire time. So if we discount everything here, all of this down move, and you obviously just saw this up move within this parallel, like, oh, it's all good, it's going to just keep going, but it wasn't. It was massive bear flag, and a lot of people were bullish on gold there, and they weren't. And basically, you can see the transitions, right? So the dark green candles is heavy buying. The light green, it's still buying, but it's not as heavy, right? So there's some interest still. Orange is neutral, just neutral. Okay. And they can be used as transitions as well. I'll show you a couple. And then dark red is heavy selling, and light red, like this one here, is, still selling, but not as heavy. So if we look, if we take here, for instance, these four reds, I'll zoom in a little. We take these four red candles here. They're obviously got heavy selling, and then we transition into a neutral on this guy, right? And then we got some light buying, and we transition back into a neutral. And then lo and behold, after that neutral, we've shifted back down into selling. And then this one probably should have been orange, but for whatever reason, there was still selling taking place. So that's what it was. And we've shifted back into some light buying, back into some neutral, back into some heavy selling, light selling, and then some neutral. And obviously at this point, especially at the top of a channel, it's obvious what happens next. And it crashed down. So this is the sentiment of everyone that's trading it. And it's, when I say everyone, I mean in terms of quantity of money. So this is what money's sentiment is. Okay, that's probably the better metric. So we can say, 80% of the money had this sentiment, and 20% retail, whoever the hell makes up the other 10, 20%, whatever that percentage is, the idiots buying it. Okay, so that's how that works. So look, we'll go over to this peak. Obviously, it's obvious what happens going into peaks. Institutions sell into us, but everybody thinks it's going to the moon, and hey, look, it did go to the moon, no doubt about it. But again, we transition here, so we start getting light, heavy, neutral, red, and look, if you look at this red, look over on the right hand side, that candle here. Line them up, make it a bit bigger for you. It's a green candle that day. Yeah. Green candle. You're looking at this chart with no sentiment indicator and you're thinking like, oh, that was just a little pullback. And hey, it was, but it was positioning for this to happen. And you see it's lighter, 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 heavy selling, lighter, light buying, heavy selling. So this is the sentiment. The sentiment doesn't have to always be right, but it's going to be right most of the time. And the more we go through the chart, the more you're going to see, those sorts of things. So something else to have a look at would be oil. Let's see what's happening in the oil market right now. I have to switch both charts. So all right. So it looks like oil's probably going to pull back soon. The sentiment is telling us that. Okay, so we've had here this shift in heavy buying. It's all good. It's all good. There's a bit of a transition, and then light buying, and it's floating up with euphoria, and it's getting sold into. Like this big green candle here on the right hand side. Like, of course, they're selling into it. Now there's a little bit more buying, but we've got another red here. So, hey, let's see what happens. But that's the sentiment. Okay, so we can't discount how the positioning of the money is feeling. So now let's obviously take a look at the SPY. Do it on both charts. All right, so obviously I've got a few drawings on here. I might get rid of some of them so it cleans it up a little. Oop, turn the trend indicator off. The sentiment indicator. Okay. Oh no, I've deleted the sentiment indicator. How do we put it back? There we go. Put it back there. All right, now let's remove those drawings. Okay, so let's get a bit of a picture here. Let's zoom out on this guy as well. All right, so let's take here. We're obviously red on the sentiment, and there's a mixture here, red and green, and then we've transitioned back into heavy buying. We're transitioning down again, neutral, and back up. Transition to neutral again. It's just trying to work itself out here. And now we're starting to get light selling. So this is the point here where the point would be here, the orange one, but here it's really starting to change. The market is changing. And then obviously that big red candle, which is red on this side as well. And then, transfer over. So again, you're getting a look at how money is positioning. You could view it as people or money, but the majority of the money is telling you what's happening here. And we can see these transitions, prior to the April 2020, 2025 crash. It's the same deal. We're bearish here, bullish here, neutral, and we're transitioning. Okay. Now, you can make adjustments to the sentiment indicator. I've fine-tuned it, man. You can add your moving averages if you want. Usually you have those anyway. The table here, we can turn it on the right. Gives us some scoring information. Normally I like to keep the chart clean, so I'll leave that off. But it's worth looking at, and it tells you all the different scores of what's happening and why. Look, I've fine tuned the indicator, and I feel it's really correct. You can muck around with all the settings if you want to, and there's nothing stopping you. Just set it back to default afterwards if you don't like it. But I feel that it's fine tuned correctly here and works on any stock, works on crypto, works on whatever you want it to work on, and on the daily time frame, not on the intraday. We do have another sentiment indicator for intraday, but this will give you the information of what sentiment is on the intraday time frame. All right. Thank you. Bye.